Hello there, Bayless Conley here. I just want to invite you to spend a few minutes with me while we look at something that is incredibly important. I'm going to start by just telling a little story of something that happened when I was with my dad many years ago. We were camping and I picked something up, and boy, is there a lesson in it. It applies to me and it will certainly apply to you. So let's get into the Word together.
Welkom bij Antwoorden met Bayless Conley. God ziet je. Hij houdt van je. En wat er ook aan de hand is, hij heeft de antwoorden op je vragen.
You know, in Mark's Gospel, the 4th chapter, Jesus tells a parable about a guy that's sowing seeds. You know, he's casting seeds on the ground, and, you know, some of it gets in good soil, grows up, produces a great harvest. Some of it, the birds come and steal it. Some of it, you know, falls among thorns. Some of it falls on rocky, shallow soil. But he says this when he explains the parable in Mark 4:14. He said, the sower sows the word. So the seed is the word of God. Verse 20, he said, but these are the ones sown on good ground who hear the word, accept it, bear fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. And he goes on, you know, talking about this same subject, and he says something that to me is so simple, but it's explosive with the truth that is in it. He goes on down, we find in verse 26, he said that the kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter seed on the ground, all right? We already know the seed is the word of God. And he should sleep by night and rise by day, and the seed should sprout and grow. He himself does not know how. In other words, the word of God can work independent of our understanding. And then he said, for the earth yields crops by itself. First the blade, then the head, after that the full grain in the head. But when the grain ripens, immediately he puts in the sickle, because the harvest has come. All right, the seed is God's word. And Jesus said, look, the earth brings forth crops by itself. You know, the guy goes to sleep, he gets up, he goes to sleep, he gets up. And the seed sprouts and grows, and he doesn't understand how, but it does. And it eventually brings a harvest. We don't make the seed work. In fact, we can't. Our part is to get it in the ground and keep it there. There is life in the seed, and it will produce if we'll just put it in the ground. The ground brings forth fruit. When the seed is there, brings forth fruit by itself. You don't have to understand how it works. It just works. I was camping with my dad many years ago. He's been in heaven for about 5 years now, and probably 16, 17 years ago, my dad and I were camping, and there was a stand of oak trees there, and I was doing a little day hike, and I picked up an acorn off the ground. Just a little acorn. I could hold it between two fingers. And I pondered something that day that I've thought about many times. There was life locked inside of that tiny acorn. Once it got into the soil, it would do its work. From that acorn that I could hold between two fingers, a mammoth oak tree with spreading boughs would grow from the tiny acorn. Think of a little flower seed. In its tiny heart abides the beautiful flower, the leaves, the stem, you know, the amazing color, the enhancing aroma. It's all locked in the seed. There's life in the seed. Plant it and it will grow. So it is with the word of God. There is life. There is divine life. There is supernatural life locked into the seeds of God's word. Hebrews 4:12 says, for the word of God is living and powerful. 1 Peter 1:23, the word of God lives and abides forever. John 6:63, the words that I speak to you, they're spirit and they are life, Jesus said. Right? How do we get the life and power that's locked in the Word of God to be released in our life? It's pretty simple. We just plant it. We get the seed of God's Word into the soil of our heart, and then we keep it there. And remember, all seeds produce after their kind. Orange seeds will produce an orange tree full of oranges. Lemon seeds will produce a lemon tree. Watermelon seeds will produce a watermelon. Things produce after their kind. So it is with the Word of God. Promises on healing produce healing. Promises of peace produce peace. Scriptures of liberty produce liberty. And let's just quickly look at a few subjects. I want to start by talking about the subject of healing. Let me read to you from Proverbs 4, verses 20 through 22. Proverbs 4, 20 through 22. He says, "My son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart. For they are life to those who find them and health to all their flesh." And that word health literally means medicine. God's Word works like medicine to all of our flesh. It brings health to all of our flesh. It's medicine for your eyes. It's medicine for your skin. It's medicine for your liver. It's medicine for your lungs. It's medicine for your bones. It's medicine for your blood. It's life. It's health. It's medicine. It's healing to all of our flesh. And he shares here the ways that we plant the Word and we keep it in our heart. And when we do have it in the midst of our heart, well, it'll sprout and grow. You don't even have to understand how. Give your attention to God's Word. Incline your ear to His sayings. Speak it aloud. Listen to it preached. Friend, the Word of God will work. You may not understand how, but it will work. Listen to this from Psalm 107, verses 17 to 20. It says, "Fools because of their transgression and because of their iniquities were afflicted. Their soul abhorred all manner of food, and they drew near to the gates of death. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and He saved them out of their distresses. He sent His word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions." He sent His word and healed them. He sent His word. When God heals, He does it by sending His word. But always when He sends the word, He sends it in seed form. For those that will give their attention to it, incline their ear, keep it in front of their eyes, it will work as medicine. It will bring healing. It will deliver from destruction. I have a friend, his pastor in New Zealand. His name was Don. Don was riding I think a four-wheeler, a three-wheeler along a secluded beach one day, and he flipped the thing, had a terrible accident, and broke his neck. And he's there on the beach. It's a completely deserted beach, and he can't move. He's paralyzed from the neck down. He knows he's in trouble. He's laying there in the sand, and the tide starts to come. He got to the point where the water would partially cover his face, and he realizes he's going to drown because he can't move. He's paralyzed. And there was some fisherman walking way down the beach, saw him, came and rescued him. But he ends up in the hospital, and they say, "All right, Don, you're paralyzed. You're not going to be able to walk again. This is life for you now." But God supernaturally raised him up from that hospital bed, and he has full mobility and supernaturally healed. Just an amazing story. And I was talking to him one day. I said, "Don," I said, "all right, before the accident, after the accident, anything different?" He says, "Yeah, three things that are absolutely key in my life now. Three things that I've realized are absolutely essential. Number one is personal intimacy with Christ, developing that personal relationship with the Lord." He said, "That's never been more important to me than it is now." Second thing is priorities. And he said, by that, I mean family. You get busy with this and that, and you forget what a priority your wife and your children are and your loved ones are. So first, my intimacy with Christ, and secondly, to keep my family as a high priority and not let other things, work or whatever, somehow take that next spot in my life. And he said the third thing is the message of faith in God's Word. He said that is what got me off of that hospital bed. I was listening to, back then it was cassette tapes. I was listening to tapes on the subject of healing. I was listening to God's Word. Constantly. I'm listening to His Word. I got it into my heart, and something just transpired inside of me, and I knew, and God's healing power flowed through my body and brought a miraculous healing to me. Friend, the seed, it sprouts and it grows, even independent of our understanding. There is power locked in the seed. There was a gentleman, his name was Edward. He and his wife, her name was Bertie Lee. They started coming to a church that I was an assistant pastor, and it was a small church. And he lived across the street in a little house. We'd always see him out on his front porch, always had a bottle of whiskey in his hand. He drank a fifth of whiskey every single day. And one day he and his wife, Bertie Lee, showed up at the church, and Edward and his wife got gloriously saved. And he got delivered from drink. And he'd been an alcoholic for many, many years. And he confided to me, he says, Bayless, the reason that I drank so much, said I used to work in the mines, says, and I was on my knees. He was an old man at the time. And this was, 42 years ago. And he was old then. And he said, I destroyed my knees. And a lot of times I'd be on hands and knees in the mines, and, it messed up my lungs, etc. And he pulled up his pant leg. In fact, pulled up both of his pant legs. And he had so many surgeries on his knees that looked like railroad tracks, just running crisscross every way across his knees. He said, I've had so many surgeries on these. He said, I am in constant pain every day. I can barely walk. And he said, to deal with the pain, I started drinking. And so every day I drink a fifth of whiskey sitting on this porch. And, thank God I'm delivered from all those years of it, but my knees are killing me. I said, Edward, with your permission, I'd like to come to your house, and I will come every week, and I'd like to have a Bible study with you on the subject of healing. Edward said, come on. So I would go, and he had this chair. He'd sit up and be able to sort of prop his knees under pillows. And I'd sit there. I'd put a Bible in his lap, and we would go through, and I'd spend like an hour with him. Just sort of preach little mini sermons to him, and we'd talk about the scriptures. And I went week after week after week after week after week. And just we poured over these scriptures, and he would pour over these scriptures. I'd give him homework, and he would read over those scriptures. And I said, Edward, I'm going to pray for you when you're ready. I'm going to pray for you when you're ready. But I knew he wasn't ready yet. And we'd done this weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And one day I'm there, and I just knew. I knew he had faith to be healed. Somebody says, how'd you know? I don't know. I just knew. The Apostle Paul, we read that he was preaching in Lystra, and he saw this man, that was crippled. And Paul, saw that the man had faith to be healed. He said, stand upright, and he leapt up and he walked. No, how do you see faith? It's invisible. It's an inward perception that the Holy Spirit gives you. And I looked at Edward, and I knew he was ready. I said, Edward, you're ready, aren't you? He said, I am ready. I laid hands on him, and I prayed for him. And then Edward scared me. He shouted at the top of his lungs. He shouted, and he jumped up out of the chair, and he started marching around. He said, I'm healed, I'm healed. And he started lifting his legs high and marched around and says, Bertie Lee, Jesus has healed me. I'm healed by the power of God. Hallelujah. And he starts shouting again, over and over, shouting at the top of his lungs, marching around the house. And his wife comes in, and she's crying. And it was an amazing, miraculous, instant healing. But was it instant? We spent weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks poring over the scriptures on healing. He spent time every day reading those verses. in giving the Word of God on that subject his attention, inclining his ear, not letting it depart from his eyes. And it ended up being medicine to his knees, supernatural medicine, good working medicine. So yeah, the manifestation when it came was instantaneous, and it doesn't always have to be. We understand that. Sometimes it's a process that can happen. Hallelujah, either way. Frankly, I don't care. But the fact is he got the Word of God in his heart first. Now, what about when it comes to fear? A lot of people are riddled with fear. They're plagued by fear. Fear of lack, fear of the unknown, fear of the future, fear of world events, fear of violence, fear of disease, fear of not fitting in, fear of rejection, on and on and on. Listen to this. This is Psalm 56, verses 3 and 4. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you. In God, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not fear. What can flesh do to me? And then verse 10, in God, I will praise his word. In the Lord, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? All right, I'm going to put my trust in God. I will praise his word. His word can deliver us from fear. I was very, very afraid of the devil when I first became a Christian. I came out of a background of some pretty severe substance abuse, alcoholism, and the occult. And I had this terrible fear of evil spirits and of the devil. I knew they were real. And I did something right. I bought myself a Bible for 35 cents in a yard sale, best investment I ever made, and I started to read it incessantly. I read it, and I read it, and I read it, and I read it, and I read it. Hours and hours, late into the wee hours of the morning, I read that Bible. And I've been saved, 2 or 3 months, and I realized something had happened to me. Prior to that, every single day, throughout the day, I sensed that fear of evil spirits, fear of the devil. It was like a little dog that just followed me around, yapping at my heels. It was the last thing I sensed every night before I went to sleep, fear. It was the first thing I sensed every morning when I awoke. It was there on the foot of my bed, fear. It was tangible to me. I was plagued by it. But after reading the Word and getting into my heart, one day I just realized, again, I've been saved 2 or 3 months. I thought, it's gone. I almost looked around. It's gone. That fear's gone. Jesus said this in John chapter 8. It says, then Jesus said to those which believed in him, if you continue in my word, that's an important word. If you continue in my word, then are you my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. My friend, the truth freed me from fear. It'll free you from your fears. And maybe I mentioned your fear, maybe fear of world events, fear of some other, plague or disease that's going to, come and invade the land again, or fear of this or fear of that. It may be an irrational fear. You don't even know why you're afraid, but you sense the presence of fear. Well, you know what? God's word will set you free. And you say, Bayless, how? How? I don't understand how. It just does. When he gets the word in his heart, he sleeps and rises and sleeps and rises, and it springs and grows up. He doesn't know how, and it grows to the point where he actually can thrust in the sickle and have a harvest. I'm telling you, my friend, it will work for you as well. What about those that grapple with depression and have no peace? Let me read to you from Proverbs 3, verses 1 and 2. It says, my son, do not forget my law, but let your heart keep my commands. For length of days and long life and peace, they will add to you. Peace comes from the word of God. It is one of the fruits of God's word. If you will keep it, he said, my son, let your heart, that's the soil, let your heart keep my word. That word keep means to guard. It means to protect. Don't let it be ripped out of the soil of your heart. We had a lady in our church that I just loved. She was a walking Bible. And some people thought she was over the top because, whatever question you had, basically she had a scriptural answer for it. And sometimes I'd be preaching and I couldn't think of a verse, I'd kind of be on a roll preaching and I'd look at her name was Isla, say, Isla, what's that verse? And she would quote it every time. She never missed. And it was kind of a running joke with the church. If pastor can't remember the verse, Isla knows it. So I said, Isla, what's the verse? And she would quote it. And some people thought, oh, she's just over the top. But if you knew where she came from, you wouldn't think she was over the top. Because at one time in her life, she was riddled with depression. Fears and thoughts of ending her life. They just battered her mind constantly. She lived in the dark in her home. She didn't go outside for a solid year. She literally pulled the curtains and lived in isolation, full of fear, filled with depression. And literally her mind being constantly battered all day long, all night long, and lived in the literal dark for 1 year. But then she decided to do something. She says, you know what? It certainly can't hurt me. And by the way, she was a Christian. She started reading the Bible, and she read it, and she read it, and she read it, and she read it, and she read it. And eventually it set her free. As she began to feed on God's Word, got it into the soil of her heart, those dark clouds of depression began to dispel. The seed sprouted and God gave her a harvest. And the reason she was such a champion for the Word of God is she knew what it had done for her, and she knew it would do the same thing for anyone else that would receive it. My friend, what I'm talking about will work for you. And I realize that you may be watching me and you genuinely wrestle with demons. You wrestle with dark thoughts. You say, Bayless, if you only knew what a deep pit I'm in. Don't hold out this hope to me. No, I want to hold it out to you. His Word will work for you. If I could, I would come into your house right now. We put on a kettle of water, make a couple of cups of tea, sit down at your kitchen table, and I would share the Word of God with you because that is the answer. Paul said, now I commend you to God and to the Word of His grace, which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among those that are sanctified. And as we sat and sipped our cups of tea, I would share His Word for you. We might take hands and pray, but obviously, I can't do that. But this is the next best thing. Friend, what I'm giving you, I'm holding out to you the Word of life. His Word can change your circumstance. It can change your situation. And when it comes to salvation, my friend, His Word, it's the answer. 1 Peter 1:23, we're born again, not of corruptible seed, but incorruptible, by the Word of God that lives and abides forever. It's when the message of salvation comes to us and it finds a home in our heart. And we choose to believe it and not let the devil steal it out of our heart. That Word produces salvation in us. We're born again by the incorruptible seed of God's Word. And I just want to tell you, you are loved by God. You may have some pretty deep, dark sins in your life. God knows all about them, and He loves you still. He wants you. He wants you to know Him. He wants to give you a new life. This is not fantasy. This is not a fairy tale. And I know I'm talking to somebody right now. Yes, you. This is God trying to get your attention. He loves you, and He's knocking on the door of your heart. Embrace His Word. The Bible says, whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. The Bible says, if you believe in your heart God raised Jesus from the dead, and you confess Him with your mouth as Lord, you will be saved. God will bring you into His family. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is at hand. Repent and believe the gospel. Be willing to turn away from your sinful life and come to the only one who can change you. I had a guy call me one time. He was in an airport in New Zealand. He says, Bayless, you wouldn't believe this. I'm outside of this airport pub. There's a bunch of guys in there. They're drinking beer, and they're watching you on television right now. Maybe you're in a pub. Maybe you're in your home. Maybe you're in a hotel room. I may not even be speaking English right now because I know this is translated into multiple languages around the world. My mother tongue is English. I can speak a little bit of Spanish. I don't know what language I'm speaking to you right now, but listen, God is speaking to your heart. Just tie your heart around these words and pray. Say, oh God, I believe in your Son, Jesus Christ. Say it out loud. Jesus, thank you for dying on the cross for me. Say it. I believe in you, Jesus. Come into my life. Change me. I ask you to be my Lord. And it's in your name I pray. Amen. God bless you.
Heeft de preek je aan het denken gezet? Dan hebben we voor jou een gratis aanbod op onze website over het onderwerp Ervaar de kracht van God. God wil je dragen als je zwak bent. Hij heeft de kracht en wil je deze kracht elke dag opnieuw geven. Maar hoe kunnen we deze kracht dan ontvangen? Bayless Conley heeft een boekje over dit onderwerp geschreven. Ontdek Gods kracht voor jou. Download het boekje gratis op bayless-conley.nl/kracht en laat God je op zijn schouders tillen.
Wil je meer weten en op de hoogte blijven van Antwoorden met Bayless Conley? Meld je dan aan voor de gratis maandbrief van Bayless per e-mail of per post. God zegen.